The world of Mario has some strange machines and robots. Some made by Bowser, but the best ones are made by one guy, Professor ELVIN GADD. He's a scientist first appearing in Luigi's Mansion and founder of Gadd Science Incorporated. But in what ways did this character change? How did he evolve in terms of story, use, game design, and looks? Well, let's find out. Now, the first time that we saw him was in Luigi's Mansion, a launch title for the Nintendo GameCube, released in September 2001. It marks the second time where Luigi is the main character, with Mario playing a support role, the first being Mario's Missing, whatever that game was supposed to be. So as you can see, Luigi had a hard time, since Nintendo just didn't love him. So as a launch game for the back then new GameCube, they made a Super Mario Bros. Spin-off with Luigi as the hero. And to get the story going, they had to introduce Professor EGAD and King Boo. In the game, Luigi enters the mansion and is saved from ghosts by a strange old man wielding a vacuum cleaner. Professor EGAD reveals he lives in a house near the mansion where he researches his favorite subject, ghosts. Luigi explains what happened and EGAD decides to help him and gives him the Poltergust 3000 and the Game Boy Horror. Throughout the game, he helps him with all kinds of things. He's a guide in the game, the one that helps you when you get stuck and progresses the story. Almost every Mario game has such a character, and actually a lot of other Nintendo games as well. Now, back in the day of Super Mario Bros. 1, 2 and 3, this wasn't really a thing yet. Back then, it had quite a basic story in a booklet, and you just had to go through the levels. However, Super Mario World changed this. Here we got a guide and a story character named Yoshi, who became a fan favorite. This was a character that was with you, a big part of the adventure, helped you out, and explained some of the story in detail. Sure, Toad did that a bit in Super Mario Bros. 3, but that's nothing compared to what Yoshi did. And with a new spin-off series like Luigi's Mansion, they had to explain a lot, since this came out of nowhere and nothing was known about it. So they made an original story with completely new characters and villains, and EGAD was there to guide the player and explain some of the story, similar to Yoshi back then. However, you can't ride EGAD. Don't try that. The game ended up doing very well, selling 3.6 million, which is extremely good considering that the GameCube only sold 21.7 million. EGAD became quite popular, so of course he had to return in some way, and the fact that he's a scientist was very useful for this, since around a year later we would hear from him again in the main series Mario game, Super Mario Sunshine. Although Professor EGAD does not appear in the game. When Mario initially finds FLUDD at the Delfino airstrip, it says, "Thank you for purchasing this item from Gadd Science Incorporated." And later on, Bowser Jr. says he got his magic paintbrush from a strange old man in a white coat, and he uses the paintbrush to frame Mario and take Peach. So here they use Professor EGAD to explain a certain story element. He was quite a well-known scientist after Luigi's Mansion, so it was smart that they used him to explain it. However, it was a bit sad that they didn't even show him in the game, since only the people who played that Luigi spin-off game know who he is. But luckily enough, EGAD's role didn't end there, since Nintendo was working on another spin-off game for the handhelds. The Paper Mario series back in the day did pretty well, and we even saw a new one on the GameCube around the time of Sunshine. However, they also made a new series with a similar battle system for the Game Boy Advance, Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga. The Professor makes an appearance supplying the brothers with an array of accessories to help them along their way each time they drink at Star Beans Cafe, a juice shop that he owns. However, it was found that originally the game was only going to feature Professor EGAD once. The first time Mario and Luigi get a drink. In all of the future times, different characters would have appeared, like Wario, Samus Aran, Fox McCloud, Link, Captain Olimar, and more. Now, why they went with only EGAD is unknown. It could be that they didn't have enough time, or thought that the player would like EGAD more, since he was very fitting for this role. So yet again, he gets a guide role in the game, similar to Luigi's Mansion, but this time a smaller role, which is kind of sad. After his debut, he became less important, which is always a shame. They create a whole new character with a story, but it doesn't go anywhere. It just stops all of a sudden, and there's no character development anymore. However, they did something cool with him in the second Mario and Luigi game, Partners in Time for the DS. Here they start to get into the background story of EGAD. He used to live on the foothills of Thwomp Volcano, as depicted in the game. The Mario Bros go back in time and end up saving his lab from burning down when fire blocks erupted from the Thwomp Volcano. He then helps the Mario Bros, and after this, the 20-year-old EGAD moves to Boo Woods, where we would later find him in Luigi's Mansion. So it's really cool that they started to add to his personal story, since in Luigi's Mansion, we never heard about what he did before that, and now they finally started to work on that. This gives him more of a character, which makes him more interesting, which is always a great thing, since that's what he needed. But after this, he was gone for 8 long years. While there were other Mario and Luigi games during that time, and many other spin-off games. He was only seen as a cameo in games like Mario Kart and Mario Party. Nothing special. It was kind of weird that they did this, since they just started to expand on the story and role. And then, out of nowhere, they came with a brand new Luigi's Mansion game named Dark Moon. It was the first game that was released as part of the Year of Luigi, honoring 30 years since Luigi's debut. So this game was essentially made for Luigi, and not to do anything with EGAD. In the game, Professor EGAD has been researching ghosts in Evershade Valley, with some assistance from his friendly greenies. But then, King Boo appears and shatters the Dark Moon, breaking it into 6 pieces and scattering them to each mansion of the valley, and the once friendly ghosts become aggressive. So he calls on Luigi to save him and fix it all. Essentially, it all went back to the old setting from the first game. The only real difference is some new features, worlds and levels, but the formula is still the same, and they didn't add anything to the story of EGAD. I just don't get why they started building on EGAD's lore, and then just dropped him like a brick for 8 years, made him return in a new Luigi's Mansion game, and didn't add anything to him. It's so sad. This character has more potential. Sure, his role in the Mario and Luigi games were great, but it didn't last too long. Personally, I hope they do more with him. Don't get me wrong, so far he has a great story and some super fun moments, but it shouldn't end here. I guess we will just have to wait and see. Hey there, be sure to check out my social media. We do all kinds of fun stuff there. For example, every Friday we have a live stream where we play Zelda and Mario games. We do voice calls on the Discord server that we have and just talk and have fun. Or I update you on Twitter and Instagram and I post fun stuff out of my life. It's all kinds of stuff, so go check it out. Thanks for watching. If you want to watch more videos, click the annotations on the screen right now. And be sure to subscribe. We're really close to 100k. And I just want to say, you have a lovely face.